My dear friends, I ask your permission to speak with you today about something that has occupied my thoughts, my prayers, and my deepest contemplations for many years. What I am about to share with you comes not from books alone, though I have studied many, nor from tradition only, though I respect the wisdom of the ages. It comes from something deeper, from those quiet moments when the veil between the seen and unseen grows thin, from the countless souls I have sat with in their moments of searching, from the readings that have come through me when I have surrendered my own understanding to something greater. If you are here right now, listening to these words, it is not by accident. You have been drawn here because somewhere in your heart you carry a question that will not be silenced. Perhaps you have asked it in the darkness of sleepless nights, or in moments of profound joy when you wondered what force could create such beauty. Perhaps you have asked it in suffering, when the world seemed cruel and empty, or in those strange moments of synchronicity when life felt like it was speaking directly to you. The question is ancient, and it is this: what is God, really? Not the God of your childhood fears or your inherited beliefs, not the God that others have told you about, painted in the colors of their own understanding or their own control, but the God that is real, the God that is true, the God that you can know not just with your mind, but with every fiber of your being. In the next hour and a half, I promise you this: something will shift in your understanding. You will see patterns you have never noticed before. You will recognize truths that have always been within you, waiting to be remembered. And if you stay with me until the end, you will understand why this question, this search, is perhaps the most important journey of your entire existence. Before we go further, I want to ask something of you. If what I share today resonates with your soul, if it touches something true within you, I ask that you subscribe to this channel, not because I seek numbers or recognition, but because this kind of conversation, this depth of exploration, is rare in our world. We live in times when the sacred has been made shallow, when the profound has been reduced to slogans and certainties. Here we speak of what others often fear to question. Here we honor the mystery while seeking to understand it. And I ask that you stay until the very end, because I will share something then that may change how you see everything. Finally, if you know someone who is searching, someone who carries this same holy restlessness in their heart, share this with them, not as propaganda, but as an act of love, as you would share water with someone who is thirsty. Now, let us begin this journey together. Let me tell you what I have come to understand about what God really is. For most of my life, I have walked between two worlds. In one world, I am a man like any other, with hands that grow tired, eyes that grow dim, a heart that knows both joy and sorrow. In the other world, I am a channel, a doorway through which information flows, through which healing comes, through which the veil parts and reveals what is normally hidden. This has given me a unique perspective, a way of seeing that is both humbling and illuminating. And what I have learned through thousands of readings, through countless encounters with the divine mystery, is that almost everything we have been taught about God is both true and incomplete. Let me start with what God is not, because sometimes we must clear away the rubble before we can build something new. God is not an old man sitting on a throne in the clouds, dispensing rewards and punishments like some cosmic judge with a ledger of your sins and virtues. This image, though it has served certain purposes in human history, is a limitation, a way of making the infinite small enough to fit inside our finite minds. God is not separate from you, watching you from a distance, waiting to see if you will pass some test. God is not angry at you for your humanity, not disgusted by your desires, not keeping score of your failures. God is not a being among other beings, not even the greatest being. God is not a thing that exists in the way that a tree exists or a star exists. God is not bound by time, not limited by space, not subject to the laws that govern the physical universe. And yet, paradoxically, God is more real than anything you can touch, more present than your own breath, more intimate than your own thoughts. So what is God then? Let me offer you an image, a metaphor that may help us approach this mystery. Imagine an infinite ocean. This ocean has no shore, no bottom, no surface. It is pure, conscious, creative energy, existing before time, beyond space, containing within itself all possibilities, all potentials, all that could ever be. This ocean is not made of water, but of something we might call love, though even that word is too small. It is made of awareness, of intelligence, of creative force, of a will toward expression and experience. Now, imagine that this ocean, in its infinite nature, desires to know itself. How can the infinite know itself? How can that which is everything experience what it is to be something? The answer is both simple and profound. It creates waves. Each wave is still the ocean, made of the same substance, connected to the whole, and yet each wave has its own shape, its own movement, its own temporary form. Each wave can experience itself as separate, can crash against other waves, can rise and fall, can know the joy of existence and the sorrow of dissolution. You are one of those waves. I am one of those waves. Every person you have ever met, every animal, every plant, every star in the sky, every atom spinning in the void, all of it waves in the infinite ocean of God. We are not separate from God. We are God, experiencing itself in countless forms. God exploring what it means to be limited, to be individual, to be mortal, to struggle and grow and love and lose and find again. This is not pantheism, the idea that God is simply the sum of all things. It is deeper than that. God is both the ocean and the waves, both the source and the expression, both the infinite and the finite, both the eternal and the temporal. God is the ground of all being, the consciousness that underlies all existence, the creative force that brings forth universes, and the intimate presence that knows every hair on your head, every tear you have cried, every secret hope you carry in your heart. I can see some of you now feeling a resistance to this idea. You were taught that God is wholly other, completely separate, transcendent, and unreachable, except through specific mediators or rituals. And there is truth in that teaching too. God is transcendent, beyond our comprehension, greater than anything we can imagine. But God is also immanent, present within everything, closer to you than your own jugular vein, as the mystics say. These are not contradictions, they are paradoxes, and paradox is the language of the divine. Let me share with you something that came through in one of my readings many years ago. A woman came to me, desperate and broken. She had lost her child, and with that loss, she had lost her faith. She asked me, "Where was God when my baby died? How can there be a God who allows such suffering?" And in the reading that came through, this is what was said. God was in the mother's arms, holding the child. God was in the child, returning home. God was in the grief, breaking the heart open to a deeper love. God was in the question, the holy rage, the refusal to accept easy answers. God is not separate from any of it. God is the experience itself, the consciousness that knows all of it, the love that holds all of it, even the parts that feel like absence. This is difficult to accept, I know. We want God to intervene, to prevent suffering, to make the world fair and safe. But what if God is not a puppeteer pulling strings, but the very fabric of existence itself? What if free will, the genuine freedom of consciousness to choose and act, is so sacred that even God will not violate it? What if suffering, as terrible as it is part of the process by which consciousness grows, by which souls deepen, by which love becomes real and not just theoretical? I am not saying that God causes suffering or wants suffering. I am saying that in a universe where genuine freedom exists, where cause and effect operate, where growth and evolution are possible, suffering is an inevitable part of the equation. And God does not stand apart from that suffering. God enters into it, experiences it with us, through us, as us. Every pain you have ever felt, God has felt. Every tear you have cried, God has cried. You are not alone in your suffering. You are God suffering, God learning, God growing through the experience of limitation. Now, let me take you deeper. If God is the infinite ocean and we are the waves, what is the purpose of all this? Why does the infinite become finite? Why does the eternal enter time? Why does the perfect create imperfection? The answer, as I have come to understand it through years of readings and contemplation, is experience. God, in its infinite nature, knows all things potentially, but seeks to know all things actually. God knows what love is in the abstract, but desires to experience love in the concrete, in the specific, in the messy and complicated reality of two souls meeting and choosing each other. God knows what courage is as a concept, but wants to feel what it is to be afraid and to act anyway. God knows beauty as an eternal principle, but longs to see it through your eyes when you watch a sunset or hold a newborn child. We are God's way of experiencing itself. We are the instruments through which the infinite plays the music of existence. And here is the profound part. Every experience you have, every choice you make, every moment of your life adds something to the infinite. You are not just a passive creation. You are a co-creator, actively participating in the ongoing evolution of consciousness itself. When you love, you teach God something about love in this specific time, in this specific form. When you create, you add something new to the universe that has never existed before. When you grow beyond your limitations, you expand the boundaries of what is possible. This is why your life matters, why every life matters, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem. You are not a mistake. You are not a random accident in a meaningless universe. You are a unique expression of the divine, an irreplaceable note in the cosmic symphony, a perspective on reality that has never existed before and will never exist again in exactly this way. God is experiencing existence through you, and what you do with your life, how you love, how you grow, how you contribute to the whole, matters eternally. But I know what some of you are thinking now. If I am God, if we are all God, why don't I feel it? Why do I feel so separate, so alone, so powerless? This is the great forgetting, the necessary illusion that makes the game of existence possible. Imagine if you always knew you were God, always felt the infinite power and knowledge and love. There would be no challenge, no growth, no genuine choice. It would be like playing a game where you already know every move, where you cannot lose, where nothing is at stake. There would be no story, no drama, no evolution. So we forget. We are born into these bodies, into these minds, into these personalities, and we forget our true nature. We believe we are just this wave, just this temporary form, just this limited self. And this forgetting is not a punishment. It is a gift. It allows us to have real experiences, to face real challenges, to make real choices. It allows us to discover who we are, to remember our divine nature, not as something we are told, but as something we realize, something we earn through our own journey. This is the spiritual path, the journey of awakening. It is not about becoming something you are not. It is about remembering what you have always been. It is about peeling away the layers of false identity, the masks and roles and stories you have believed about yourself, until you reach the core, the essence, the truth of your being. And at that core, you will find not a small, separate self, but the infinite, the eternal, the divine. You will find God, and you will realize that God has been you all along. Let me tell you about a reading I did once for a man who was searching for God desperately. He had tried every religion, every practice, every teacher he could find, and still he felt empty. Still he felt that God was distant and unreachable. In the reading, this is what came through. You are looking for God the way a fish looks for water. You are swimming in God, breathing God, made of God, and yet you search for God as if it were something separate from you. Stop searching and start noticing. God is in the breath you just took. God is in the beating of your heart. God is in the awareness that is reading these words right now. You are not separate from what you seek. You are it, seeking to know itself. This is the great secret, the truth that mystics have known across all traditions and all times. God is not somewhere else. God is here, now, in this very moment. God is the consciousness that is aware of these words, the presence that is experiencing your life, the silence beneath all your thoughts, the space in which all experience arises. You do not need to go anywhere to find God. You do not need to become worthy or pure or enlightened. You need only to wake up to what is already true, to recognize what has always been present. But recognition is not always easy. We are conditioned by our culture, our upbringing, our experiences, to see ourselves as separate, limited, mortal beings in a random universe. We are taught to fear death, to cling to security, to identify with our thoughts and emotions and roles. We are taught that we are sinners, that we are broken, that we need to be saved by something outside ourselves. And all of this conditioning creates a veil, a barrier between our conscious awareness and our true nature. This is where spiritual practice comes in. Prayer, meditation, contemplation, service, creativity. All of these are ways of thinning the veil, of creating openings through which the light of our true nature can shine. They are not ways of earning God's love or approval. They are ways of removing the obstacles to the awareness of love's presence, as the Course in Miracles says. They are ways of quieting the noise of the mind so that we can hear the still, small voice within, the voice of God speaking through our own deepest intuition. I have spent much of my life in a state of trance, allowing information to flow through me from sources beyond my conscious mind. And what I have learned from this is that consciousness is not limited to the brain, not confined to the body, not bound by the laws of physical reality. Consciousness is fundamental. It is the ground of all being. The brain does not create consciousness any more than a radio creates the music it plays. The brain is a receiver, a filter, a focusing mechanism that allows the infinite consciousness of God to experience itself as a specific, limited individual. When I go into trance, I am essentially stepping aside, loosening the filter, allowing information from the larger consciousness to flow through. And what flows through is always loving, always wise, always aimed at healing and growth and understanding. This has taught me that the deeper we go into consciousness, the more we find love. Not sentimental love, not emotional love, but a fundamental orientation toward wholeness, toward connection, toward the well-being of all. This is the nature of God, not a being who loves, but love itself, the force that holds all things together, the attraction that draws all things toward unity and harmony. Think about your own experience of love. When you truly love someone, what happens? The boundaries between you and them become less solid. You feel their joy as your joy, their pain as your pain. You want what is best for them, even if it costs you something. You see them not as a means to your own happiness, but as an end in themselves, valuable and precious simply because they exist. This is a glimpse of how God loves, how God sees.
God does not love you because you are good or because you are useful. God loves you because you are God, because you are an expression of the divine, because your very existence is a miracle and a gift. And here is something that may surprise you. God needs you. Not in the sense that God is incomplete without you, but in the sense that God has chosen to experience existence through you. And without you, that specific experience would not exist. You are not an accident or an afterthought. You are a necessary part of the whole, a unique perspective that adds something irreplaceable to the infinite tapestry of existence. Your joys and sorrows, your triumphs and failures, your questions and discoveries, all of it matters. All of it is God knowing itself in a new way. This is why it is so important to live authentically, to be true to yourself, to follow your own path rather than simply conforming to what others expect of you. When you deny your true nature, when you hide your gifts, when you play small to make others comfortable, you are depriving the universe of something unique and precious. You are preventing God from experiencing itself in the way that only you can provide. Your authenticity is not selfishness. It is service. It is your contribution to the ongoing creation of reality. Now, I want to address something that troubles many people when they begin to understand this teaching. If we are all God, if there is no separation, does that mean there is no individual soul, no personal immortality, no continuation after death? Will we simply dissolve back into the ocean, losing all sense of individual identity? This is a deep question, and the answer is both yes and no. Yes, in the sense that the separate ego, the small self that thinks it is just a body and a personality, will eventually be seen through, transcended, released. This is not a loss, but a liberation, like waking from a dream in which you thought you were trapped and limited. But no, in the sense that the essential you, the unique pattern of consciousness that you are, continues. Think of it this way. A wave may crash on the shore and seem to disappear, but the water does not disappear. It returns to the ocean, and it will form new waves, new patterns, new expressions. And yet there is a continuity, a thread that runs through all the forms. Your soul is real. It is not separate from God, but it is a distinct pattern within God,
a unique way that the infinite has chosen to express itself. And this pattern continues, evolves, grows through many lifetimes, many experiences, many forms. Death is not an ending, but a transition, a return to a larger awareness before taking form again. And each time you incarnate, you bring with you the lessons, the growth, the love you have developed in previous lives. Nothing is lost. Everything is preserved in the infinite memory of God. I have seen this in my readings countless times. People come to me with questions about their current life, and information comes through about past lives, about patterns that have been repeating, about lessons that are being learned across multiple incarnations. And always, always, the message is one of growth, of evolution, of a soul moving toward greater love, greater wisdom, greater unity with the divine. You are not going in circles. You are moving in a spiral, returning to similar lessons but at a higher level each time, gradually awakening to your true nature. And what is the end point of this journey? What happens when we finally, fully awaken to what we are? Do we lose our individuality and merge completely with God? Again, the answer is paradoxical. We realize that we have always been one with God, that there has never been any separation except in our own perception. And yet, we do not lose our uniqueness. We become like facets of a diamond, each one reflecting the light in a slightly different way, each one necessary to the beauty of the whole. We are both one and many, both unified and diverse, both God and ourselves. This is the mystery of the Trinity that Christianity speaks of, though it has often been misunderstood. The Father is the infinite, the source, the ground of all being. The Son is the expression, the manifestation, God in form, God experiencing itself as creation. And the Holy Spirit is the connection, the love, the force that unites the infinite and the finite, the eternal and the temporal, and all three are one. Not three separate beings, but three aspects of the same reality. And you are also a Trinity. You are the infinite consciousness that is your true nature. You are the specific individual that you experience yourself to be. And you are the love that connects these two, the bridge between heaven and earth, the place where God and human meet. Let me share with you now something about how to live in light of this understanding. If you truly know that you are God, that everyone you meet is God, that everything you experience is God experiencing itself, how does that change your life? It changes everything. You begin to see the sacred in the ordinary, the divine in the mundane. You begin to treat yourself with more compassion, recognizing that you are doing the best you can with the awareness you have, that your mistakes are part of your learning, that your struggles are part of your growth. You begin to treat others with more respect, seeing past their masks and roles to the divine essence within them, recognizing that they too are God in disguise, playing their part in the cosmic drama. You begin to see your challenges not as punishments, but as opportunities, not as evidence of God's absence, but as invitations to grow, to deepen, to discover strengths you did not know you had. You begin to trust the process of your life, to see the patterns and synchronicities, to recognize that you are being guided, not by some external force, but by your own higher self, by the God within you that knows the path you need to walk. You begin to take responsibility for your experience, recognizing that you are not a victim of circumstances, but a creator of reality, that your thoughts and beliefs and choices shape the world you experience. This is not to say that you cause everything that happens to you, that you are to blame for your suffering. It is to say that you have more power than you realize, that you can choose how you respond to what happens, that you can find meaning and purpose even in the darkest experiences. And you begin to live with more joy, more freedom, more love. Because when you know that you are God, you know that you are safe, that you are loved, that you are eternal. You know that nothing can truly harm you, that death is not an ending, that all experiences are temporary and all lessons are valuable. You know that you are part of something vast and beautiful and meaningful, that your life has purpose, that you matter. But let me be clear about something. This understanding does not make you superior to others. It does not give you license to do whatever you want without regard for consequences. It does not mean that you are already perfect and have nothing to learn. In fact, it places a greater responsibility on you, because if you are God, then how you treat yourself and others is how God treats itself. If you harm another, you are harming yourself, because there is no separation. If you serve another, you are serving yourself, because we are all one. This is the law of karma, the law of cause and effect in the moral and spiritual realm. What you put out into the world comes back to you, not as punishment, but as natural consequence, as the universe maintaining balance and harmony. And this law operates not just across one lifetime, but across many, as your soul learns and grows and evolves toward greater love and wisdom. So, the spiritual path is not about escaping the world or transcending morality or becoming so enlightened that nothing matters. It is about engaging more fully with life, loving more deeply, serving more selflessly, creating more beautifully. It is about bringing heaven to earth, manifesting the divine in the physical, making real in your daily life the love and wisdom and creativity that are your true nature. I want to speak now about prayer, because many people misunderstand what prayer is in light of this teaching. If we are God, who are we praying to? If there is no separation, what is the point of prayer? Prayer, rightly understood, is not about begging an external deity to give you what you want. It is about aligning yourself with the divine will, which is also your own deepest will. It is about opening yourself to guidance, to healing, to transformation. It is about remembering who you are and what you are here to do. When you pray, You are not talking to someone else. You are talking to your own higher self, to the God within you, to the infinite consciousness that knows what you need better than your limited ego does. And the answer to prayer does not always come in the form you expect. Sometimes the answer is yes, and you receive what you asked for. Sometimes the answer is no, because what you asked for would not serve your highest good. And sometimes the answer is wait, because the timing is not right, because you have more to learn before you are ready to receive. But prayer always works, in the sense that it always shifts something within you. It opens your heart, quiets your mind, reminds you of what is real and true and important. It connects you to the source of all strength and wisdom and love. It is a practice of surrender, of letting go of your need to control everything, of trusting that you are held and guided and loved. And meditation is the other side of prayer. If prayer is talking to God, meditation is listening. It is creating space for the still, small voice within to be heard. It is quieting the constant chatter of the mind so that you can access the deeper wisdom of your soul. It is practicing presence, being fully here and now rather than lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future. And in that presence, in that stillness, you begin to experience directly what I have been talking about. You begin to feel the infinite consciousness that you are, the peace that passes understanding, the love that has no object because it is the very nature of being itself. I encourage you, if you have not already, to develop a practice of meditation. It does not have to be complicated or time-consuming. Even 5 minutes a day of sitting quietly, watching your breath, letting thoughts come and go without attaching to them, can begin to transform your life. It is like cleaning a window so that the light can shine through more clearly. The light is always there, but we need to remove the dirt and grime of our conditioning, our fears, our false beliefs, so that we can see it. Now let me address a question that often arises at this point. If God is everything, if God is in the murderer as much as in the saint, in the cancer cell as much as in the flower, does that mean that everything is equally good? That there is no such thing as evil? That we should just accept everything as it is? No, this is a misunderstanding of the teaching. God is in everything, but not everything is aligned with the divine will, with the movement toward greater love and unity and wholeness. Evil, as I understand it, is not a separate force opposed to God. It is the absence of love, the forgetting of our true nature, the choice to act from fear and separation rather than from love and unity. It is real, and it causes real suffering, and it must be opposed. But it is not ultimate. It is not eternal. It is a temporary distortion, a wave that has forgotten it is the ocean, a part of God that has become so identified with its separate form that it acts against the whole. And the way to oppose evil is not with more violence, more hatred, more separation. That only creates more of the same. The way to oppose evil is with love, with understanding, with the patient work of healing and transformation. This does not mean being passive in the face of injustice. It means acting from a place of love rather than hate, seeking to heal rather than to punish, working to transform systems and hearts rather than simply to defeat enemies. This is difficult. It requires great courage and great wisdom. It requires us to see the humanity in those who do terrible things, to recognize that they too are God in disguise, lost and suffering and acting from their own pain. It does not mean excusing their actions or allowing them to continue harming others. It means responding in a way that breaks the cycle of violence rather than perpetuating it, that opens the possibility of redemption rather than closing it. I have seen in my readings that every soul, no matter how lost, no matter how much harm they have done, has the potential for awakening, for return to love. It may take many lifetimes, much suffering, much learning, but the door is never closed. God never gives up on any part of itself, and neither should we. Let me speak now about the different religions and spiritual paths, because this is a source of much confusion and conflict in our world. If what I am saying is true, if we are all God, and God is in everything, then what about all the different teachings, the different names for God, the different practices and beliefs? Are they all equally true? Are they all equally false? How do we navigate this diversity? My understanding, based on the readings I have done and my own contemplation, is that all genuine spiritual paths are pointing to the same truth, but from different angles, using different languages, emphasizing different aspects. It is like the old story of the blind men and the elephant. One touches the trunk and says, "The elephant is like a snake." Another touches the leg and says, "It is like a tree." Another touches the side and says, "It is like a wall." They are all correct based on their limited perspective, but none of them has the whole picture. Christianity emphasizes the personal relationship with God, the incarnation of the divine in human form, the power of love and sacrifice. Buddhism emphasizes the illusory nature of the separate self, the practice of mindfulness and compassion, the path to liberation from suffering. Hinduism emphasizes the unity of all existence, the cycle of birth and death and rebirth, the many faces of the one divine reality. Islam emphasizes surrender to the divine will, the importance of community and justice, the transcendence of God beyond all images and concepts. And indigenous traditions emphasize the sacredness of nature, the wisdom of ancestors, the interconnection of all life. All of these are true. All of these are valuable. All of these can lead to awakening, to the direct experience of God, to the realization of our true nature. The question is not which one is right, but which one speaks to your heart, which one provides the practices and the community and the framework that helps you grow. And you may find that you draw from multiple traditions, that you create your own synthesis, that you follow your own unique path. This is not only acceptable, it is necessary, because you are unique, and your path to God must be unique as well. But beware of spiritual bypassing, of using these teachings to avoid the real work of growth and healing. Knowing that you are God does not mean you can skip over your psychological wounds, your relationship problems, your need for therapy or medicine or practical help. The spiritual and the psychological are not separate. They are two aspects of the same journey. You must heal your human self even as you awaken to your divine self. You must do the inner work of facing your shadows, your fears, your traumas, even as you open to the light of your true nature. And beware of spiritual pride, of thinking that because you understand these teachings intellectually, you are more advanced than others, more enlightened, more special. Understanding is not the same as realization. Knowing about God is not the same as knowing God. The proof of your spiritual development is not in what you know, but in how you love, how you serve, how you treat the people in your life, especially those who are difficult or different from you. I have met many people who can talk eloquently about non-duality and enlightenment, but who are unkind to their families, dishonest in their business, selfish in their relationships. This is not awakening. This is spiritual ego, which is perhaps the most subtle and dangerous trap on the path. True awakening makes you more humble, not more proud. It makes you more compassionate, not more judgmental. It makes you more present and engaged with life, not more detached and aloof. So test your understanding against your experience. Does it make you more loving? Does it bring you more peace? Does it help you navigate the challenges of life with more grace and wisdom? Does it inspire you to serve, to create, to contribute to the healing of the world? If not, then something is missing. Some piece of the puzzle has not yet fallen into place. Now, as we move toward the end of our time together, I want to speak about the times we are living in, because I believe they are significant in the spiritual evolution of humanity. We are in a period of great transition, of great upheaval, of old structures breaking down and new possibilities emerging. This is uncomfortable, even frightening at times, but it is also necessary. It is the birth pangs of a new consciousness, a new way of being human. For thousands of years, humanity has been dominated by the consciousness of separation, of us versus them, of competition and conflict and control. We have built civilizations on this foundation, and we have achieved much. But we have also created tremendous suffering, tremendous destruction, tremendous imbalance. We have polluted our planet, widened the gap between rich and poor, developed weapons that can destroy all life, lost touch with the sacred, with the natural world, with our own souls. This cannot continue. The old way is dying, and it must die, so that something new can be born. And what is being born is a consciousness of unity, of interconnection, of collaboration and compassion and care for the whole. More and more people are waking up to the truth that we are all one, that what we do to others, we do to ourselves, that we must learn to live in harmony with each other and with the earth, or we will not survive. This awakening is happening in many ways through many channels. Some are having profound spiritual experiences, direct encounters with the divine, spontaneous realizations of their true nature. Others are being forced to wake up by crisis, by suffering, by the breakdown of the systems they relied on. Others are being drawn to new teachings, new practices, new communities that support a more conscious way of living. And all of this is part of the same movement, the same evolutionary impulse, God waking up to itself through humanity. You are part of this awakening.
Your search for truth, your willingness to question what you have been taught, your openness to new understanding, all of this is contributing to the shift in consciousness that is happening on our planet. You are not just saving yourself, you are helping to save the world. Because as you wake up, as you embody more love and wisdom and creativity, you change the field, you influence others, you make it easier for those who come after you. This is why your spiritual practice matters, why your inner work matters, why your commitment to growth and healing and service matters. You are not doing it just for yourself. You are doing it for all of us, for the whole of humanity, for the earth, for God. You are a cell in the body of God, and when you heal, the whole body is healthier. When you awaken, the whole body becomes more conscious. And this is also why it is so important to stay grounded, to stay connected to your body, to the earth, to the practical realities of daily life. Spirituality is not about escaping into some ethereal realm. It is about bringing the divine into the physical, about making heaven real here on earth. It is about cooking dinner with love, doing your work with integrity, raising your children with wisdom, treating strangers with kindness. It is about finding God in the ordinary, in the simple, in the here and now. Let me tell you one more story before we close. A man once came to me, a successful businessman who had everything the world says you should want: money, status, a beautiful family, respect in his community. But he was miserable. He felt empty, meaningless, like he was living someone else's life. In the reading, this came through. You have been climbing a ladder, and you have climbed it very well, but it is leaning against the wrong wall. You have achieved success in the eyes of the world, but you have neglected success in the eyes of your soul. It is not too late to change. It is never too late. But you must be willing to let go of what you have built, to step off the ladder, to find the wall that is right for you, even if it means starting over, even if others do not understand. This man took that message to heart. He left his business, simplified his life, began to explore what truly mattered to him. It was not easy. He faced judgment from others, financial challenges, moments of doubt and fear. But he also found something he had never known before: peace, joy, a sense of purpose and meaning. He discovered that God was
not in the achievements and acquisitions, but in the journey itself, in the courage to be true to himself, in the love he could give and receive when he was living from his authentic self. This is the invitation I extend to you now. What ladder are you climbing? What wall is it leaning against? Is it the right wall for you? Or are you living according to someone else's definition of success, someone else's expectations, someone else's dreams? God is calling you to be yourself, your true self, the unique expression of the divine that only you can be. And that may require you to let go of things you have been holding on to step into the unknown, to trust that you will be supported even when you cannot see the path ahead. This is faith, not belief in doctrines or dogmas, but trust in the fundamental goodness of reality, in the love that holds all things, in the God that you are and that is always with you. This is the faith that allows you to take risks, to be vulnerable, to love even when you might be hurt, to create even when you might fail, to keep going even when you are tired and discouraged. And this faith is not something you have to manufacture or force. It is something that grows naturally as you practice presence, as you meditate, as you open yourself to the direct experience of the divine. The more you taste the peace and love and joy that are your true nature, the more you trust. The more you see the synchronicities and guidance in your life, the more you relax into the flow. The more you experience yourself as part of something larger, the less you fear death or loss or change. So I invite you to practice, not because you should, not because you will be punished if you don't, but because it will make your life richer, deeper, more meaningful. Sit in silence for a few minutes each day. Notice your breath. Notice your thoughts. Notice the awareness that is noticing. Ask yourself, who am I, really? Not the roles you play, not the stories you tell about yourself, but the consciousness that is aware of all of that. Rest in that awareness. Let it expand. Let it embrace everything in your experience, the pleasant and the unpleasant, the beautiful and the ugly, the sacred and the mundane. And as you do this, you will begin to recognize what I have been talking about. You will begin to feel the presence of God, not as something separate from you, but as your own deepest self. You will begin to see God in others, in nature, in the events of your life. You will begin to live from a place of love rather than fear, of trust rather than control, of gratitude rather than complaint. And your life will transform, not because you are trying to make it transform, but because you are aligning with what is real, with what is true, with what you have always been. Before I close, I want to return to the question I posed at the beginning. What is God really? And now, after this long journey we have taken together, I hope you can see that the question itself is part of the answer. God is the mystery that cannot be fully captured in words, the reality that must be experienced to be known, the love that is seeking to know itself through you. God is the ocean and the wave, the infinite and the finite, the eternal and the temporal, the source and the expression, the question and the answer. God is not somewhere else, waiting for you to find the right belief, or the right practice, or the right level of purity. God is here, now, in the beating of your heart, in the breath moving through your body, in the awareness that is reading these words. God is you, and you are God. And the journey of life is the journey of remembering this truth, of living from this truth, of becoming a more and more transparent expression of the love and wisdom and creativity that are your essential nature. This is what I have learned in my years of walking between worlds, of serving as a channel for information and healing, of sitting with thousands of souls in their moments of searching and suffering and awakening. This is what the readings have taught me, what my own experience has confirmed, what I offer to you now as a gift, as a seed that may take root in your heart and grow into something beautiful. I ask you now, as we come to the end of our time together, to take a moment and reflect. What has stirred in you as you have listened? What questions have arisen? What resistances? What recognitions? I invite you to share in the comments below. Tell me about your own experience of God, your own journey of seeking and finding, your own moments of awakening or doubt or wonder. This is not just my conversation. It is ours, a community of souls supporting each other on the path home. And if what I have shared has touched you, if it has opened something in you, if it has given you a new way of seeing, I ask you to share this with someone who might need to hear it. Not to convert them, not to convince them, but to offer them the same gift that I have tried to offer you. A reminder of who they really are, a glimpse of the divine that lives within them, an invitation to wake up to the truth of their own being. Subscribe to this channel if you want more of these conversations, more of this depth, more of this willingness to explore the great questions of existence without easy answers or comfortable certainties. And stay until the very end, because I have one more thing to share with you, one more key that may unlock a door you have been standing in front of for a long time. The final key is this: you are already what you are seeking. You are already whole, already loved, already home. The journey is not about becoming something you are not. It is about removing the obstacles to the awareness of what you have always been. It is about letting go of the false identities, the limiting beliefs, the fears and wounds that keep you feeling separate and small. It is about relaxing into your true nature, which is infinite, eternal, divine. And this relaxation is not a passive thing. It is the most active, most courageous, most creative thing you can do. Because when you stop trying to be what you think you should be and start being what you are, you unleash a power that can transform not only your own life, but the lives of everyone you touch. You become a force for healing, for awakening, for love.
you become what you were always meant to be. God in human form. The infinite expressing itself as the finite. The eternal dancing in time. This is my prayer for you, my blessing for you as we part. May you remember who you are. May you trust the journey you are on. May you love yourself and others with the love that is your true nature. May you find the courage to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to be real. May you know that you are never alone, that you are always held, that you are always loved. May you wake up to the God within you and live from that awakening in every moment of your life. And may you know deep in your bones that what God really is you. Not the small you, the ego you, the separate you, but the real you, the essential you, the you that has always existed and will always exist, the you that is one with all that is, the you that is love itself, consciousness itself, the creative force of the universe itself. This is the truth. This is the secret. This is what I have spent my life trying to understand and communicate. And now I pass it to you, not as a belief to accept, but as an invitation to explore, to test, to verify in your own experience. Do not take my word for it. Find out for yourself. Sit in silence. Ask the deep questions. Listen for the answers that come not from outside, but from within. And trust what you discover, even if it contradicts what you have been taught, even if it challenges everything you thought you knew. Because God is not afraid of your questions. God is not threatened by your doubts. God is not waiting to punish you for getting it wrong. God is you, exploring what it means to be human, learning and growing and evolving through your experience. And every question you ask, every doubt you face, every challenge you overcome is God knowing itself more fully, more deeply, more completely. So be bold, be curious, be willing to not know, to sit in the mystery, to let the answers emerge in their own time. Be patient with yourself and with the process. Awakening is not a single event, but a gradual unfolding, a series of small realizations and releases that accumulate over time into a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and the world. And be kind to yourself, to others, to all of life, because kindness is the expression of the recognition that we are all one, that there is no separation, that what you do to another, you do to yourself. Kindness is not weakness, it is strength, the strength that comes from knowing who you are, from being rooted in the infinite love that is your true nature. This is what God really is, the love that creates and sustains all things, the consciousness that knows all things,
the presence that is in all things. And this is what you really are, not a separate, limited, mortal being, but an eternal, infinite, divine expression of that love, that consciousness, that presence. Remember this, live from this, share this, and watch as your life becomes a miracle, a blessing, a gift to the world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being willing to explore these deep waters with me. May your journey be filled with wonder, with discovery, with love. And may you always remember you are God, experiencing itself as you. And that is the most beautiful, most sacred, most precious thing in all of existence. Go in peace, go in love, go in the knowledge of who you truly are, and may that knowledge transform everything. But before we truly part, let me take you even deeper into this mystery, because there are layers upon layers to explore, dimensions of understanding that we have only begun to touch. The nature of God is not something that can be exhausted in a single conversation, not something that can be fully grasped in a single lifetime. It is an infinite exploration, an eternal unfolding, a journey that has no end because God itself is endless, boundless, forever revealing new facets of its infinite being. I want to speak to you now about something that many people struggle with, the relationship between God and suffering, between the divine and the darkness that we encounter in this world. How can God be love? How can God be all-powerful and yet allow such pain, such injustice, such cruelty to exist? This is perhaps the oldest question in human spirituality, and it deserves our deepest attention. In my readings, I have encountered countless souls who have been wounded by life, who have experienced traumas that seem incomprehensible, losses that seem unbearable. And what I have learned is that God does not cause these things, but God is present in them, working through them, using even the darkest experiences as opportunities for growth, for transformation, for the deepening of love and compassion. Think of it this way. If you were to create a world where genuine growth was possible, where souls could evolve and learn and become more than they were, what would that world look like? It could not be a world of constant comfort and safety, because there would be no challenges to overcome, no obstacles to strengthen you, no darkness to teach you the value of light. It would have to be a world where real choices have real consequences, where actions matter, where suffering is possible precisely because love is possible, where loss is real precisely because connection is real. This does not make suffering good. It does not justify cruelty or excuse injustice, but it places suffering in a larger context, a context of meaning and purpose and ultimate redemption. Every soul that suffers is learning something, growing in some way, even if that growth is not visible in the moment, even if it takes many lifetimes to bear fruit. And God is not watching from a distance, unmoved by our pain. God is in the pain, experiencing it with us, as us, holding us, even when we cannot feel that we are held. I remember a reading I did for a woman who had survived unspeakable abuse as a child. She asked me, "Where was God when I was being hurt? How could God allow that to happen to an innocent child?" And what came through was this: God was in the child, suffering with you, never leaving you even in the darkest moments. God was in the strength that allowed you to survive, in the resilience that kept your spirit alive even when your body was violated. God was in every person who showed you kindness afterward, in every moment of healing, in every step of your recovery. And God is in you now, using what you suffered to develop a compassion and wisdom that can help others who have walked similar paths. Your pain was not God's will, but God's presence in your pain has transformed it into something that can serve, that can heal, that can bring light into darkness. This is the alchemy of suffering. The way that God works with even the worst that happens to bring forth good. Not because the suffering itself is good, but because consciousness has the power to transform anything, to find meaning in anything, to use anything as fuel for growth and awakening. This is the mystery of the cross in Christianity, the idea that God enters into suffering, dies on the cross, and through that death brings resurrection, brings new life. It is a profound truth expressed in mythological language about how consciousness works with suffering to create transformation. And this brings me to another dimension of God that we must explore. God as the creative force, the artist, the dreamer who is dreaming this entire universe into existence. You see, reality is not solid and fixed in the way we often think it is. At the quantum level, physicists have discovered that matter is mostly empty space, that particles exist in states of probability until they are observed, that the observer and the observed are intimately connected. This is not just physics, this is metaphysics. This is evidence that consciousness is fundamental to reality, that the universe is more like a thought than a thing, more like a dream than a machine. And whose thought is it? Whose dream? It is God's dream, and it is your dream, because you are God. You are dreaming your life into existence moment by moment through your beliefs, your expectations, your focus of attention. This is not to say that you consciously control everything that happens to you. Much of your dreaming is unconscious, shaped by patterns and programs that were installed in your childhood, by karma from past lives, by the collective consciousness of humanity. But you have more creative power than you realize, more ability to shape your experience than you have been taught. This is why spiritual practice is so important. When you meditate, when you pray, when you work with affirmations or visualizations, or any practice that shifts your consciousness, you are literally changing the dream, altering the probability fields that will collapse into your future experiences. You are not manipulating some external reality. You are changing yourself.
And because you are not separate from reality, changing yourself changes everything. Let me give you a practical example.
Suppose you believe that the world is a dangerous place, that people cannot be trusted, that you must always be on guard. This belief will shape your perception, causing you to notice and remember every instance that confirms it, while filtering out evidence to the contrary. It will shape your behavior, causing you to be defensive and closed, which will in turn cause others to respond to you with suspicion or hostility. And it will shape your energy, your vibration, attracting experiences that match that frequency of fear and separation. In this way, your belief creates your reality, not magically, but through perfectly natural psychological and social mechanisms. But if you do the inner work to heal that belief, if you come to understand that it was formed in response to past trauma and is not an accurate reflection of present reality, if you practice opening your heart, trusting wisely, seeing the good in people while still maintaining healthy boundaries, then your entire experience will shift. You will notice kindness more. You will attract different kinds of people and situations. You will create a different reality, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed, and you are not separate from the world. This is the power of consciousness. This is the creative power of God working through you. And the more you awaken to your true nature, the more consciously you can wield this power, not for selfish manipulation, but for the creation of beauty, love, healing, and harmony in your life and in the world. Now, I want to address something that often confuses people when they first encounter these teachings: the relationship between personal will and divine will, between what you want and what God wants. If you are God, then isn't what you want automatically what God wants? And if not, then how can you be God? The answer lies in understanding the different levels of your being. Your ego, your small self, your personality, has wants and desires that are often based on fear, on the need for security or approval or control. These wants are not wrong, but they are limited. They come from a limited perspective, a limited understanding of what will truly serve your highest good. Your higher self, your soul, your divine essence, has different desires. It wants growth, evolution, the expansion of love and consciousness. It wants experiences that will deepen you, challenge you, wake you up, even if those experiences are uncomfortable or painful in the short term. Divine will is not something imposed on you from outside. It is the deepest desire of your own soul, the intention that you set before you incarnated, the path that will lead you home to full awakening. And often, there is a conflict between what your ego wants and what your soul wants. Your ego wants comfort and safety. Your soul wants growth and truth. Your ego wants to be right and in control. Your soul
wants to surrender and trust and learn. The spiritual path is the process of aligning your conscious will with your divine will, of bringing your ego into service to your soul. This does not mean destroying the ego or transcending all desire. It means transforming the ego, educating it, helping it to see that what the soul wants is actually what will bring the deepest fulfillment, the truest happiness. It means learning to trust that the challenges you face are not punishments, but opportunities, that the doors that close are making way for better doors to open, that the universe is conspiring not against you, but for you, for your awakening, for your highest good. Prayer, in this context, becomes a practice of alignment. You are not begging God to give you what your ego wants. You are opening yourself to discover what your soul wants, what the divine will is for your life. And you are asking for the strength, the wisdom, the grace to align with that will, to say yes to your own deepest calling, even when it is difficult, even when it requires you to let go of what you have been clinging to.
I have seen this pattern in my readings again and again. Someone comes to me wanting a specific outcome. They want their partner to come back. They want to be healed of an illness. They want to succeed in a particular venture. And what comes through is often not a promise that they will get what they want, but an invitation to see the situation differently, to understand what they are really being called to learn, to trust that something better is unfolding, even if they cannot see it yet. And those who can accept this invitation, who can surrender their attachment to a specific outcome and open to the larger wisdom at work, invariably find peace. And often they find that what they receive is far better than what they were asking for. This is the paradox of surrender. When you let go of control, you gain true power. When you stop trying to force life to conform to your limited vision, you open to a vision that is vaster and wiser than anything your ego could conceive. When you trust the process carries you to places you could never have reached through your own effort alone. And this brings me to speak about grace, that mysterious force that seems to come from beyond us and yet is also our own deepest nature. Grace is the unearned gift, the unexpected blessing, the help that comes when we have reached the end of our own resources. It is God reaching out to us, or more accurately, it is us reaching out to ourselves, the infinite self extending a hand to the struggling finite self, lifting us up, carrying us forward, giving us what we need, even when we do not deserve it, even when we have not earned it. Grace is always available. It is the very nature of God, the unconditional love that is always flowing, always offering itself, always ready to heal and help and transform. But we must be open to receive it. We must be willing to admit that we need help, that we cannot do it all on our own, that we are not as separate and self-sufficient as we pretend to be. We must be humble enough to ask, vulnerable enough to receive, trusting enough to let go and let the divine work in us and through us. I have experienced grace many times in my own life. Moments when I was lost and suddenly found clarity, when I was weak and suddenly found strength, when I was despairing and suddenly found hope. These were not coincidences. They were the natural result of opening to the infinite resource that is always present, the divine presence that is our own true nature. And you have experienced grace too, even if you did not name it as such. Every time you have been carried through a difficulty you thought you could not survive, every time you have received help from an unexpected source, every time you have felt a peace that surpasses understanding, that was grace. That was God. That was your own infinite self loving you, supporting you, reminding you that you are never alone. Let me speak now about the body, because this is an aspect of spirituality that is often neglected or even denigrated. Many spiritual traditions teach that the body is an obstacle to enlightenment, that we must transcend the physical, that the flesh is weak or sinful or an illusion to be escaped. But this is a misunderstanding, a dualism that separates spirit from matter, heaven from earth, God from creation. The truth is that the body is sacred. It is not separate from spirit, but an expression of spirit, a manifestation of the divine in physical form. Your body is the temple of God, as the scriptures say, not because God lives in it, but because it is made of God, because every cell is conscious, every organ is intelligent, every system is a miracle of divine creativity. To honor your body, to care for it, to listen to its wisdom, is to honor God. To abuse your body, to ignore its needs, to treat it as an enemy or a mere tool, is to reject a precious gift, to miss an opportunity for communion with the divine. I have learned through my work with healing that the body knows things the mind does not know. It carries memories, traumas, wisdom that is stored in the tissues, in the nervous system, in the very cells. When we learn to listen to the body, to feel what it is feeling, to respect its signals and symptoms, we gain access to a deep intelligence, a knowing that can guide us toward healing and wholeness. And when we bring consciousness to the body, when we meditate on the sensations, when we breathe into the places of tension or pain, we facilitate healing. We allow the divine energy to flow more freely. We integrate spirit and matter in the way that is meant to be. This is why practices like yoga, tai chi, qigong, dance, and other embodied spiritual practices are so valuable. They are not just exercises for physical health. They are ways of bringing consciousness into the body, of experiencing the divine through the senses, of making the body itself a meditation, a prayer, a celebration of the sacred. And this is why healing often requires not just mental or spiritual work, but also physical work, body work, movement, nutrition, rest, all the ways we care for this precious vehicle that allows us to experience life on earth. Your body is not an accident. It is not a punishment or a limitation, though it certainly has limitations. It is a gift, an opportunity, a specific set of conditions that your soul chose for this lifetime because it provides exactly the experiences, the challenges, the lessons that you need for your growth. To be incarnated, to be embodied, to be human is a privilege, a chance to know God in a way that is only possible through the density and intensity of physical existence. So love your body. Thank it for all it does for you. Listen to it, care for it, and know that when you do, you are loving God, thanking God, listening to God, caring for God. Because there is no separation. Your body is divine, and the divine is embodied in you. As we draw toward the close of our time together, I want to leave you with some practical guidance, some specific practices and perspectives that can help you live from this understanding of what God really is. Because understanding is not enough. Knowledge is not enough. You must embody this truth, live it, make it real in your daily experience. First, develop a daily practice of silence. Even just 5 or 10 minutes each morning, sitting quietly, watching your breath, allowing thoughts to come and go without engaging them. This is how you create space for the divine to emerge, how you thin the veil between your conscious mind and your deeper nature. In that silence, you will begin to feel the presence that is always there, the peace that is your foundation, the love that is your essence. Second, practice seeing God in everything and everyone. When you look at another person, especially someone who is difficult or different from you, pause and remind yourself, this is God in disguise. This is the divine wearing a different mask, playing a different role, offering me an opportunity to practice love, compassion, understanding. When you look at nature, at a tree or a flower or the sky, see it not as a separate object, but as an expression of the same consciousness that you are, the divine creativity making itself visible, tangible, beautiful. Third, pay attention to synchronicities, to the meaningful coincidences that occur in your life. These are not random. They are the universe speaking to you, God communicating through the language of symbol and pattern and timing. When you notice these synchronicities, acknowledge them, give thanks for them, ask what they might be telling you. This practice will attune you to the guidance that is always available, the subtle ways that your higher self is directing you toward your highest path. Fourth, practice gratitude, not just for the good things, but for everything, even the challenges and difficulties. Because if you truly understand that you are God experiencing itself, then every experience is valuable. Every moment is a gift. Every challenge is an opportunity. Gratitude shifts your vibration, opens your heart, aligns you with the abundance that is your true nature. It is one of the most powerful spiritual practices available to us. Fifth, serve. Find ways to give, to help,
to contribute to the healing and upliftment of others. Because when you serve another, you are serving yourself. You are serving God.
Service takes you out of the prison of self-obsession, connects you to something larger than your own concerns, allows the divine love to flow through you into the world. And in that flow, you will find joy, meaning, purpose, the fulfillment that comes from being a channel for grace. And finally, be patient with yourself. Awakening is not a race. It is not a competition. It is a journey that unfolds in its own time, at its own pace. You will have moments of clarity and moments of confusion, moments of peace and moments of struggle, moments when you feel connected to God and moments when you feel utterly alone. All of this is part of the process. All of this is God experiencing itself through you. Do not judge yourself for where you are. Do not compare yourself to others. Simply keep showing up, keep practicing, keep opening, keep trusting. And know that every step, even the steps that feel like backward movement, is taking you closer to home, closer to the full realization of what you are. My beloved friends, we have traveled far together in this conversation. We have explored the nature of God as the infinite ocean of consciousness. We have examined how we are waves in that ocean. We have looked at suffering and creativity and will and grace and embodiment and practice. And through it all, the central message has remained the same. You are not separate from God. You are God, experiencing itself as you, learning and growing and evolving through your unique journey. This is not a belief I am asking you to accept. It is a truth I am inviting you to discover for yourself, to verify in your own experience, to make real in your own life. And when you do, when you truly know in your bones that you are divine, that you are loved, that you are eternal, that you are one with all that is, everything changes. Fear loses its grip. Death loses its sting. Life becomes an adventure, a celebration, a sacred dance of consciousness exploring itself in infinite forms. This is the message I have devoted my life to sharing. The truth that has come through thousands of readings, the wisdom that has been given to me so that I might give it to you. And now I pass it on, trusting that it will take root in your heart, that it will grow and blossom and bear fruit in your life, that it will help you remember who you are and why you are here and what you are capable of becoming. You are God. Never forget this. Never doubt this. Never let anyone convince you that you are small or powerless or unworthy. You are the infinite in finite form, the eternal in temporal expression, the divine having a human experience. And that is the most extraordinary, most beautiful, most sacred thing in all of existence. Go now and live from this truth. Let it guide your choices, inform your relationships, shape your dreams. Let it give you courage when you are afraid, hope when you are discouraged. Love when you are tempted to close your heart. Let it be the foundation of your life, the lens through which you see everything, the song that your soul sings in every moment. And remember, always remember, what God really is love, and what you really are is that same love expressing itself uniquely as you. This is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, the question and the answer, the journey and the destination. This is the truth that sets you free. May you walk in this truth. May you live in this love. May you awaken fully to the God that you are. And may your awakening bless all beings, heal all wounds, and contribute to the great awakening of consciousness that is happening on our planet in these times. I thank you for your presence, for your attention, for your willingness to explore these mysteries with me. May we meet again in this form or another, in this life or the next, as we continue the eternal journey of God knowing itself, loving itself, celebrating itself in all its infinite expressions. Blessed be. Namaste. The divine in me honors the divine in you, for we are one, and we have always been one, and we will always be one. This is the truth. This is the way. This is what God really is.